Hello again and welcome to Torah for Women Ministries, Mountain Moments with Judith Garten. I don't understand. What am I supposed to write in my journal? This is a question several sisters have asked me because they weren't sure what to write down. I did set aside our study on the armor of God for the prayer journal, just to be able to help you through and discuss these things with you. Now, we left off going over my color key, and as I had said in the other video, I'm not going through this in order because I found that as I was going through typing this up, my notes for you, there are several things on my color key that actually coincide with each other. They go hand in hand. So I wanted to address those specifically in this video. I hope that your challenge for last week went all right. If you have any questions, I hope that you will send them to me through the comment section on TorahForWomen.com. That's Torah, F-O-R, women.com. The link is below in the comments or in the description. Also, if you use social media, the social media links should be below in the description as well. So reach out to me, ask the questions, let me know what you have that need to be answered, and I will work on more videos answering your questions for prayer journaling. So here we go on the second half. These few items in my journal I had noticed are marked with several colors. And these colors are my warning color, which is the red marker, my dreams and visions, which is my yellow marker, and words of wisdom and knowledge for me personally. These sometimes go hand in hand, and often I will also add my bright pink marker. Oops, that's a dark pink. My bright pink marker to these colors, because if I've learned something through a dream or a vision that I want to share with you, or through a warning that I want to share with you, I will share it through Torah for Women. So I noticed in going through a couple of my older journals, especially the one that I just finished up in 2020, which is the Torah for Women Virtuous Women's Prayer Journal. Like this. This is my second copy. I noticed that there are a number of things that are marked with multiple markers. So in doing that, I thought we would talk about ways they go hand in hand, as well as going over what I record in these categories. Now, the first one I want to go over is number 1 on my color key, and it is warnings. I record those in my journal when Yahweh gives me a strong warning or a warning of any kind, and I mark it with my red highlighter. We always need to pay attention to warnings. So I wanted these to stand out on my pages and grab my attention for when I need to go back. And I've noticed that warnings sometimes they apply today when I record it. But a year down the line, I might look back and go, oh my goodness, that applies to a situation I'm going through right now also. So Yahweh might give you a warning for one thing that also applies later on, and maybe the words of wisdom and knowledge, understanding the dream or vision you had at that time in that warning, or that contained that warning, might also help you through the next situation. So it's important to write those down and be able to see them. Now, there are a lot of warnings in my journals that are personal, very personal. I did my best to try and find a few examples for you to recognize them in your own life. So what do I consider are warnings? Well, there are times when I've actually heard the Holy Spirit or felt the Holy Spirit give me a real powerful heads up. And sometimes it happens when someone in my life is going to do something negative, and that negative action will affect me or someone close to me. I've been warned several times that a particular teacher is not one I should listen to, because their doctrines are seriously false. Several times Yahweh's warned me of a person who was saying things about someone I love or about myself. And I've been given warning to watch for placing myself in certain circumstances with that person. Several times he warned me, and these warnings were very blunt. Yahweh might actually be so blunt as to tell me sometimes, Jane Doe is lying about Susie Q. Watch and listen. And when this happens, interestingly enough, something always falls into place and the lie is blatantly revealed every single time. And it's uncovered. And this always gives me a heads up so that I'm spiritually aware of what to do in the situation when it happens, when it comes to fruition. And it also helps me deal with the eventual fallout, because there's always fallout when there's a situation like that. I recall one example, though, of a warning which caught me completely off guard because of the depth of the lies that had been told. In 2015, I was impressed upon to write down this message. More attacks on your character are coming from this person. Don't be alarmed or upset. Do not react. Do not overreact. Do not let them see your anger. Be at peace. Remember, I've promised you, no weapon formed against you will be allowed to prosper, but you may need to go through it. Now, sadly, I did react very upset at first. I was hurt. I was angry. It came out of left field, and the depth of what went on, the number of people this person used and abused in the process of what happened. And I was shocked by who all was involved. I reacted and I overreacted. And I realized after it was all cleared up, had I listened to Yahweh and remembered to remain in peace, things would have gone differently. They would have gone more smoothly. My anger, and in a lot of ways fear, would not have fed their satisfaction. It would have been less damaging to me, both emotionally and financially. However, I recorded everything, including my flaws and what I did wrong, because it was amazing how Yahweh worked things out and was able to literally clean up the mess. And I have noticed in life, sometimes Yahweh tells us to go A and we go B. And cleaning things up is one of the lessons he shows us and we need to pay attention to, because it might help us pay better attention next time and not get into so much trouble and not leave him being the cleaner-upper. It's a lesson I have learned a few times. I recall one experience where we had made a decision, Jim and I, that was difficult. Jim wanted to go one direction on the decision. I wanted to go another. I needed, though, to be a submissive wife at that point. So as much as I did not want to do, we did. It was complicated. And it's complicated for wives, because if you get the strong impression this is the wrong thing to do, sometimes a husband says we need to do it. Sometimes we need to allow that to take place and allow Yahweh to work it all out. So I kept trying instead to steer the decision, and it wasn't working. I finally just said, you know what, I have to stop. And yet down the line, he wished we had done differently. When we got into the situation, it did not play out well. There were a lot of things that went wrong for a year or so because of the decision. Personal attacks from outside sources, financial burdens and strains we didn't anticipate. Family relationships were strained, even some to the point of being estranged. But in the end, Yahweh was able to straighten that out as well. I actually recorded it in my journal as Yahweh cleaned up our mess and straightened it out in spite of ourselves. And that to me is a very valuable word of knowledge, word of wisdom that I need to remember going forward. And I do write things down exactly as they come to me like that. If I don't, if I try to soften it or pat it, it's not going to have as much effect on me next time. It's important to remember these things in life. Now, how did Yahweh fix these? Well, some examples of how he fixed things. We lost money, and Yahweh could not recuperate that money. But he was able to bring blessings for us to reduce the costs of other items, which balanced out in the end. We were able to buy a four-wheel drive vehicle for when we moved here. And instead of it costing like $13,000, we got it for around $5,000. Our house here in West Virginia was reduced literally by tens of thousands of dollars, and that is a hilarious story. I will share in a video in the future. It was amazing. And even just recently, he replaced money that had been lost to me. That blessing we got, we had no idea it was going to be coming, and it was perfect timing for us. It took several years, but Yahweh cleaned up our mess. And there's no doubt that he was in charge the whole time. Looking back, I realized too there were things, and I wrote these down, that I needed to repent of when I complained to him because he wasn't doing what I wanted done or what I expected done. So I write that down as well. It is a lesson in patience and perseverance, and we need to record those things so that we remember the next time. Now, I do want to say warnings are not all bad. We have had wonderful warnings, things that happened for us that came as a warning. For example, we were warned to leave New Jersey. That warning led to a dream or a vision that Jim had about a place not far from where we live now, and that was what led us to West Virginia. It was a place we had never seen before. We had tried to push our own agenda. We wanted to move out west, somewhere in the southwest or northwest. Nothing worked out for us in that area. And then Jim had the dream, and we refocused on following Yahweh's instructions and directions, not our own, and then things started going forward. It took a couple years, but things started going forward. We still had challenges. The adversary still tried to stand in our way several times and stop us, but we made it. And the story of our house, that's another story I have to share with you. Of all the overflowing miracles and blessings, not just the price, the Yahweh moved mountains to get us here, and the people he put in place for us. It was amazing. Now this warnings leads us to dreams and visions, because sometimes those warnings come in dreams and visions, and those I record in bright yellow. Dreams and visions are a favorite of mine. I realized today that there is a vision that I had years ago that I never recorded in my journals. I have to. So I'm going to try and take that as my personal challenge this week to do. If you have time where you know that you've had dreams and visions, this might be a nice Shabbat thing to do for yourself. If you've had dreams and visions, type them up and stick them in your journal, in your prayer journal. Like I said, I made an envelope. In my new journal, I did the same thing. I showed you the old one. This is my new one. You can see that I have the little envelope here. And in here, I stick things that I type up, and then I make a note in the journal on a page. Dreams and visions are a favorite of mine because I've had dreams that were just so vivid and amazing. And of course, they're a favorite because a dream led us here to West Virginia. A dream revealed to me a special blessing was coming for one of our children. That was in September of 2016, and I knew details about that blessing before others did, and I wrote them in my journal. And it was funny because it wasn't until just a month ago that I realized that I had written those things down. I've had some very unique dreams that are amazing, and visions that carry amazing messages. I mentioned one in the other video. God gave me a message multiple times about, I go before you. First, let's discuss the difference between a dream and a vision. Dreams, you're generally asleep, and you're at least dozing. Visions, you tend to be wide awake, but you see it plain as day. I would like to explain a vision example to you first, because my visions have been few, or fewer than my dreams, but I truly know beyond a shadow of doubt they were visions because I was awake. Now, the first vision was one I had before we moved from New Jersey and came to me late one night. I wasn't sure at first if it was a dream or a vision, because I was in our old prayer room. It was dark, it was late, and I was praying over a negative situation. And this was one of the dreams or one of the visions. I wasn't sure. At first I thought maybe I had fallen asleep and drifted off, but it is clear it was a vision because I could actually see the furniture in the room through what I was seeing. It was like the vision was vivid but clear at the same time, and see-through. So I recorded as a vision. We were in a jungle, and it was heavy greenery all around us. We were waving our arms, walking and fighting through the growth, trying to get through vines and bushes and trees and spider webs and all of that, like you see in like one of those jungle movies. Suddenly, in front of us, Yeshua appears, and we felt ecstatic. We were also relieved. So we followed him, and we never stopped moving. He never stopped moving, never missed a step. As he moved forward, we didn't have to move our arms anymore at all or push things out of the way. Everything just literally fell in front of him. Vines fell or parted, spider webs disappeared, everything. And it wasn't like he had a sickle in his hand. It just moved out of his way. He had nothing in his hands. It made our pathway easy and clearer. And then we followed him more willingly with each moment. We were kind of a little hesitant at first, but we followed him each moment willingly, and then we kept moving faster. The more willingly we went, the faster we moved. The easier the pathway became, the faster and faster and faster. We never had to stoop or duck or anything. This vision always reminds me, he goes before us. And I remembered it when the next vision happened a couple years later. I was sitting out on our front deck here in West Virginia. It was probably on a Shabbat or during my personal prayer time in the morning. I was having that meditation time, and suddenly I could see, as plain as day, out at the end of our driveway, a concrete barricade, and the stranger was leaning up against it with his arms folded, and a smirk on his face. Because he knew. He knew. His feet were crossed at the ankles as he leaned on that barricade. And I felt a definite statement that it meant that he was going to do whatever he needed to block us from going forward in what we were called here to do. And I can testify to the fact that he was the adversary. And there have been times he has done just that. He has stood in our way financially. He has stood in our way with our car. He has tried to wear us down. Yet we keep pushing on, and we always remember, and we need to remember, that Yahweh goes before us. Now the dreams, these I have had and are very interesting. I want to share a few with you. They were vivid, beyond a shadow of doubt. They were messages from Yahweh I knew to the depth of my spirit. They were messages from him. Almost all of them have come to pass in one way or another, but I've always been warned with certain dreams that they are ones I need to keep an eye on for a lifetime. Now, the first one I want to talk about is termites. I was given a dream in 2016 of us living in a beautiful home. We had the ministry, life was good, but we noticed termites, tunnels on the foundation. I have that one right here in my journals. All right, right here in my journal. I had to take a break so I could find the page. I had it marked and then I misplaced it. If you'll notice, this has a lot of warnings in it, lots of red. It's a dream, so I marked it in bright yellow. Lots more warnings. And here is a drawing I made of what we saw in the foundation. I don't know if you can see it clearly enough. Little tunnels on the foundation, and I made notes of what the termites were doing and what they stood for in the dream. I wrote all of that down, and this goes on actually for this whole 2 pages. This was in July of 2016, was shortly after we moved here. This was an example of the adversary standing out there at the concrete barrier. This was a clear dream of warning, as you can see by all the red marks. And when I told Jim about it, he got the same message of warning in his spirit. And he said, these termites are people from our past. And the message went on that we should pay attention, because these termites would try to destroy things. Each working alone or with one or two others, they would try and execute the same purpose, to destroy what we have, who we are, and everything about us. And those are words I wrote down in my journal specifically. To destroy what we have, who we are, and everything about us. And interestingly enough, in November of 2019, I had another dream about termites. This time it was in a barn with huge termite mounds. They were trying to get into our house from the barn, and when I say huge, they were gigantic mounds. And it was clearly tied to the first dream about termites, because in this one, we both said to each other in the dream, here we go again. Oh, just like last time. And we had to battle against what the termites were doing. There were two messages that came out of both of these dreams, simple messages. And those were follow truth and God's got this. The God's got this part to me is God goes before us. He's running, he's going to be there clearing the way. And in that, we just need to follow truth. We need to stick with truth, which is in Yahweh. And if we stick with the truth, we are following him as he goes before us. So those are the messages. But interestingly enough, looking back at both dreams, shortly after each one, I had gotten a word of wisdom from Abba too. And those are recorded in my journal. You aren't wrong. Because of this, and looking back at the things that happened within a few months after each of those dreams, other records I have written down, I know exactly who and what Yahweh was warning about in both dreams. And when he told me I was not wrong, those were the people who played out in the circumstances. And yes, they were like termites, tunneling, undermining, attacking, and trying to destroy our foundation. Then they wanted to eat away at our house. And I don't mean our physical house, but the house we've established together as husband and wife, our home together, our atmosphere, our family, our ministry, everything about us. And that has happened from a number of different fronts from people from our past. Now I would like to share with you also some pleasant dreams. We need to remember and write those down too. The first bundle of dreams might seem like they're just like warning dreams or whatnot, but I also noticed that they are promise dreams, and I noted that in my journal. I mentioned the one jungle dream. Well, I've had others. It was the one I mentioned before about the jungle junk and Yeshua moving it out of our way. Well, there was another one where we were somewhere in the middle of Africa in a desert airport, and it was funny, we were wearing, like tan safari clothes and everything, the whole atmosphere, somewhere in Africa, and we're in this big hangar building, and outside the hangar there were lions just waiting and skulking and threatening us as we were inside. We were trying to find a way to escape and save all of us, everybody that was in there. I can't recall how we escaped, and I didn't write that down, which means I didn't remember to write down the whole dream when I was recording it. But we were able to rescue ourselves and those who were with us, whoever they were. And then the third dream I had that was a jungle dream, we were running through what looked like the savannah. We were being chased by cheetahs through like tall grasses, and those cheetahs, they were moving fast, but we were moving faster. They wanted to devour us, but we were outrunning them, literally running so fast that they could not catch up. And all three of these dreams I labeled as jungle dreams in my journal. I include them because they are insurmountable obstacles. They're impossible for us to have accomplished alone. Yet in each case, Yahweh was clearly present and brought us through, providing a way out into safety. Now, I do have a favorite dream too. September of 2016. Yahweh's lived up to this particular dream in so many ways. He's used so many people to help fulfill this dream. And I don't see it ever ending, because in the dream it didn't end. But it's come to fruition so many times. What it was I saw my hands, and it was through a fog. And I drew this one in my journal also. I drew this one, and it's very vague here. It's very tiny, so I will describe it. I had my hands going through like a fog or a veil or a cloud, and Yahweh was on the other side of this mist or this cloud, and my hands were cupped and open, and he had a bag, like my velvet bag, and he was pouring jewels of every size, every color, every shape, all polished and bright and glistening, from a bag into my cupped hands, and he poured non-stop. My hands never filled up or overflowed. They didn't pour out the bottom, they just kept filling, and he just kept pouring. He was providing for us in an immeasurable way. This goes along with a vision I had some time ago too, sitting on the front steps, where I wrote about in one of my blogs. I didn't refer to it as an official vision, yet looking back, it truly was, because I didn't just see raindrops or dewdrops glistening on the grass. I saw actual gemstones, and I saw them glistening literally all over the lawn. They were sparkling in every color, and I remember writing down in my journal, I wrote down that there was topaz and diamonds and sapphires and emeralds and rubies, and I just wrote down every imaginable gemstone. As I continued to stare over the lawn, I wrote down another one that I thought of. Look, there's an orange one that reminds me of this stone. There's this color that reminds of turquoise, that reminds me of tourmaline. And I found all of these different, they were just coming to me. Now, every time I see this same thing happen on our lawn, because it does, it happens all the time, it amazes me, because it occurs to either point out a blessing that had just happened financially or in a provision form of way, or that one is coming up. And I remember I had seen these, I mentioned before I had been awarded a scholarship for school. I had seen jewels all over the lawn right before that scholarship came through. It was like God gave me a warning, but it was a good warning. I had the same kind of vision not long ago, at the end of November, beginning December, sitting in a chair in the living room, staring out the window. And the grass was covered in raindrops, but it had been covered all day. Normally I see these gemstones first thing in the morning. This was in the afternoon, and the sun was behind us, not in front of us, yet the whole lawn was covered in larger and more gemstones and jewels than I had ever seen before. Shortly after that, a major financial blessing came through for us that isn't just a one-time blessing. It's something going forward that has truly helped. I am amazed at how Yahweh uses those visions and dreams to just fill us to overflowing. Had I not paid attention to those things, I don't know that I would have appreciated the blessings as much when they came through.